Hello, Kansas and Western fans. It's time for another episode of my series on how I design the track plans for each of the scenes on my layout. And you have to excuse my voice a little bit. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'll probably shoot this video and then go take a 2-hour nap. So if I sound a little odd, that is why. Anyway, the scene that we're looking at today is my Canon City and Portland cement scene, Portland cement plant scene. In reality, these two locations are a few miles apart. But as you're driving on US 50 west towards Canon City, you can't help but notice this giant Portland cement plant off to the south. It really stands out. It's sitting down there in the valley there. Anyway, the other neat aspect about coming into Canon City is you're entering almost a box canyon, so it's very scenic, and I hope to represent that on the backdrop here. To the best of my ability, if I can find either photos online or one of the backdrop companies can provide something like that. And you can see there, it kind of leads into that there at the end where I start the Royal Gorge route. But anyway, back to the track. So over here on the right-hand side, you can see where the two portals are. And the left portal is the main line. The main line was a big wide radius, I guess, coming over from the other side. And I wanted to keep as wide a radius as possible, just to kind of keep it as realistic as possible, because I have tighter radiuses on most of the rest of the layout. And I wanted to have it swing wide anyway, so I would have plenty of room to put this Portland cement plant scene here. And we'll just continue on with the main line. From there, I knew I wanted to have some of the scene on both sides of the main line, so you can see how it kind of slowly meanders more towards the middle of the layout, which allowed me space to build the station there on the left and some space for the downtown area there on the right for Canon City. And I did have, before I settled on the main line location, I did have the kit for the station first. So I was able to pull out that foundation and make sure that was going to fit along with a siding there to make sure I didn't squeeze that out with the main line location. So having the footprint of the structures you know you want to have before you lay your main line is extremely helpful to make sure you don't mess up your space requirements for what you really want to have on the layout. And then from there, I wanted to carry on with as sweeping a curve as possible onto this next scene. And so that's what I did there. Just tried to make that as gentle a curve as possible. Now, as for the Portland cement plant itself, since this is one of the largest kits that you can buy from Walthers, minus maybe the steel mill kit, I definitely wanted to have this kit on hand before I started laying any of the track for that to make sure all the buildings would work. And this isn't exactly how the kit works. I think typically you would have maybe the silos in line with the rest of the facility. I'm not sure. But the nice thing about these kits is there is some variability that you can do with laying those out. And so this is what I came up with, allowing these spurs to fit inside the plant. There was plenty of room for that. I would have liked that farthest spur to be a little bit longer, but without making a bunch of weird S-curves in this spur, I didn't really want to do that. And so settled for that length, and it's going to be fine. 3 tracks gives me a loading track here on the left, maybe an arrival track here in the middle, and then a small storage track for cars that have already been loaded and are ready to go out. So that's the point of that. And then once I had laid the main line and had a siding designed, I knew I still had room for one more spur, and that kind of became the locomotive track for the switcher for this plant. And I left a little space here for a parking lot to kind of allow the crew someplace to park their little work office there for their switch jobs, and then they could jump in their locomotive and do their switching for the day. All right, back to this siding. In line with what I want to do with most of my layout, which is be able to carry out operations without fouling the main line as much as possible. I put this siding in place so that a train bringing local deliveries could pull off the main line, as you see this one here, and perform some switching functions for the industries on that end of Canon City and the Portland cement plant. And so I made sure that siding was long enough to be able to do that. And then as you can see here, the siding continues on this spur here to Colorado Quarries, which is really one of the only other industries in Canon City that's still left. And then the siding continues on for a long spur, which is actually a switch lead for the Portland cement plant, so that you could switch all those cars and all those tracks again without fouling the main line. So I've done an operations video since then, if you want to check that out, but it does work as intended. Then the last bit of track here, you can see this other siding here, near side where these cars are. That's the siding for the Royal Gorge Route Railway, which is passenger service for the Scenic tour through the Royal Gorge. I definitely had to have that because that's lots of great photo ops for people to take a ride through there along the river. And as you can see, that's the route that I'm trying to model here in this area is the route that train takes. So had to have a siding for that. And then I had enough room left that I could create a little spur here for the workshop for the Royal Gorge route, which allows me some space to store some extra rolling stock for the railroad. They do have a little bit of a variety of passenger cars, and they do also have a few extra locomotives. And this will give me a place to park those and keep those on display, and then still realistically use those from time to time without having to go grab them out of a box or something. The afterthought for this area was the Colorado Quarries, and that's what that final spur is there up against the road or the backdrop. And as I said, it's one of the only other industries, tracks served anyway, in Canon City. And I'm still not quite certain that I'm actually going to keep it, because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room left from the track to the backdrop. And a lot of what this industry is it provides rock of different types for landscaping projects, for rail delivery. This silo isn't really something that they have, I don't think. It might be something that they use to fill dump trucks with. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back on Google Earth and check that out. But if I can't really come up with a good way to represent this industry, whether it's aggregate piles up against the backdrop, I'm not sure. I might change this to a defunct spur. Canon City used to have its own coal-fired power plant, and that is just to the west of the train station. The tracks still exist. They go behind a fence. They're still in place. So if I can't accurately represent that Colorado Quarries, I think I might just make this an out-of-service track that served the old power plant. So that's what I had for the design considerations. I'm just refer to my notes here real quick, and we'll see if I have anything else here. And it's a good thing I referred to my notes, because I almost forgot to mention this spur here at the edge of the layout. When I first built this whole peninsula here, there was a giant space under the end of the yard there. And one of my viewers was very nice enough to suggest I build a workbench, which is what I ended up doing. And then from there, it was only a natural progression to lay a track from the main line through the backdrop that connects onto the workbench, which allows me to drive trains right over here to the workbench, where I can then work on cars, work on locomotives, and so on. And I've isolated this track with this switch here so that I can do testing on locomotives, programming, and so on, and it keeps it isolated from the main layout. Operationally, what this created was an interchange track possibility, and although there aren't really any interchange tracks in reality, this is a proto-freelance layout, so I can make up things as I go just to entertain me at will. But this will create some interesting interchange possibilities for some different rail traffic to tie into the layout. And the siding, actually dual sidings, but the left siding is going to be occupied most of the time with that passenger traffic. But the right siding would allow me to pull traffic from this interchange track and then perform a runaround maneuver if we needed to head back to the east, back towards Pueblo through the layout backdrop there. So I appreciate the viewer suggestions, and I have gotten about as much value out of my channel as anything by people suggesting ideas for the layout. So I appreciate you guys for doing that and keeping those coming. And any other questions or comments that you might have, please feel free to share. But that's my design intent for this part of the layout. Tune in next time when we talk about the Royal Gorge route here on the left. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great night.